Sam Bankman-Fried was a smart man, destined for greatness. But what if we told you that his smarts fooled people into losing billions of dollars? Bankman-Fried was a math prodigy from California, attended the prestigious USA Math Camp, and graduated from MIT with a degree in physics. Early in his career, he traded stocks and ETFs on Wall Street for Jane Street Capital. It seemed like the perfect training ground, but no one realized how those skills would later be twisted in ways that left the world reeling. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for stories of other entertainment missteps and biggest regrets just like this. By 2017, Bankman-Fried had jumped ship to the hot new world of cryptocurrency. He co-founded Alameda Research, a crypto trading firm, leveraging high-speed strategies in digital assets. 2 years later, he and fellow MIT alumnus Gary Wang launched FTX in 2019, a Bahamas-based crypto exchange that promised innovative products and robust security for traders. FTX's early growth was meteoric. In 2021, it closed a $900 million funding round that valued the company at about $18 billion. By October 2021, a new round of investments from heavy hitters like Singapore's Temasek and Tiger Global pushed FTX's valuation to $25 billion. The numbers were dazzling, but they masked a truth that was already starting to rot beneath the surface. In January 2022, FTX raised yet another $400 million, led by SoftBank's Vision Fund 2, catapulting its valuation to roughly $32 billion. In just a few years, Bankman-Fried had turned a small startup into one of the most valuable crypto companies on the planet. By some estimates, the third largest crypto exchange in daily trading volume. But nobody was asking the question that really mattered. How solid was the foundation holding up this empire? Top investors piled in to fuel the rise, with SoftBank and Temasek being joined by other blue-chip backers, giving FTX more than $1.8 billion of funding in a few months. Even celebrities got involved. NFL quarterback Tom Brady and supermodel Gisele Bündchen each took an equity stake in FTX, with Brady becoming a brand ambassador. NBA star Steph Curry also signed on as an FTX ambassador. Pop singer Katy Perry famously quipped on Instagram that she'd quit music and intern at FTX for a year. It was the ultimate cultural stamp of approval. But soon, those endorsements would become reminders of how completely everyone had been fooled. To the outside world, Bankman-Fried's exchange looked bulletproof, backed by top VCs and star power. Yet behind the curtain, the truth was closing in. Bankman-Fried himself cultivated a very un-CEO persona. He adopted the image of a workaholic slacker, wearing shorts, t-shirts and flip-flops year-round, claiming to live off instant ramen and energy drinks, and boasting of surviving on little sleep. He talked incessantly about effective altruism, a Silicon Valley philosophy of earning to give. Publicly, he said he planned to amass as much wealth as possible, just to give most of it away for good causes. In 2021, he even joined Bill Gates and Warren Buffett's giving pledge, promising to donate at least half his fortune to charity. By early 2022, Bankman-Fried was not just a crypto king, but a major philanthropist on paper. Public filings show he contributed nearly $40 million to US political campaigns in 2022, more than almost any other individual that cycle, mostly to Democratic candidates and super PACs. He helped bankroll a Democratic-leaning effective altruism PAC called Protect Our Future, which funded pandemic preparedness and other causes. But while his image grew shinier by the day, something else was happening on the sidelines. To many investors, this made SBF look like a humble genius on a mission. He was spending lavishly, buying luxury real estate and sports jerseys, but supposedly only so he could give those gains away. When he told the world that customer deposits on FTX would remain safe and sound and never be used for anything else, few questioned it. On the surface, he seemed earnest, a young tech visionary who wore his nerd cred on his sleeve and promised to help make the world a better place. Yet those reassurances would soon be tested. By mid-2022, cautious regulators and insiders were noticing red flags. In August, the US Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, OCC, ordered FTX to stop falsely claiming that customer funds were FDIC insured by the government, a warning that the company's bold marketing claims were misleading. Behind the scenes, some in the crypto community whispered that Alameda and FTX were too closely entwined, but no hard evidence surfaced. It was the kind of whisper that usually dies out, but this time the whispers were right, and the proof was about to explode into public view. Then, catastrophe struck in November 2022. On November 2nd, crypto news site CoinDesk broke a story based on a leaked internal balance sheet. Alameda Research, SBF's trading firm, was almost entirely capitalized by FTX's own cryptocurrency token, FTT. In other words, Alameda's assets included huge piles of FTT, essentially an IOU from Bankman-Fried's other company. Within days, this revelation set off a panic. Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange, announced it would dump its roughly $500 million stake in FTT. In a dramatic twist, Binance's CEO Changpeng Zhao even agreed to buy FTX's non-US business to help it survive. However, when Binance's lawyers dug into FTX's books, they found the exchange was hemorrhaging money. In a stunning reversal, Binance backed out of the deal on November 9th. That decision sealed FTX's fate, and what followed was a collapse so fast it stunned even veteran traders.
Basically, I couldn't believe it. I was in complete disbelief. I was just like, this isn't happening. This isn't real. This isn't real.
Fearing the worst, FTX customers pulled out roughly $6 billion in 3 days. On November 11th, 2022, FTX filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in the US, and Sam Bankman-Fried abruptly resigned as CEO. In that 1 week, the company's fortunes went from certainty to ruin. But the bankruptcy filing was only the surface of the disaster. After the collapse, investigators and prosecutors began to piece together what really happened. It turned out FTX's touted safety and separation of funds were a mirage. Instead of holding customer deposits in cold storage, Bankman-Fried had been secretly diverting those billions of dollars into Alameda Research to cover bad trades and debt. As the US Justice Department later described it, SBF was the leader and mastermind of a scheme to defraud customers of FTX by misappropriating billions of dollars of those customers' funds. In plain terms, he lied to investors and users, stole their deposits, and used them for his own gain. Prosecutors say SBF reassured everyone repeatedly that client assets were segregated and secure, but in fact, he channeled billions of dollars in customer deposits from FTX to Alameda for his benefit. Alameda used these funds to make risky bets, repay its own loans, buy luxury homes in the Bahamas and Silicon Valley, and even to bankroll the $40 million in political donations and lavish lifestyle of Bankman-Fried and his associates. The Justice Department noted that he even had engineers alter FTX's computer code so that Alameda could withdraw crypto with no real limits, a blatant abuse of the system he controlled. In effect, FTX had become a kind of Ponzi scheme. Money from new or unsuspecting customers kept the losses of Alameda and the personal expenditures of SBF afloat. "We have no patience for this sort of fraud," US Attorney Damian Williams said. In announcing the fraud charges, he called Bankman-Fried's operation one of the largest financial frauds in history, stealing over $8 billion of his customers' money. Victims have indeed suffered enormous harm. Many were ordinary people and small traders who lost life savings overnight. As the DOJ press release bluntly states, SBF's lies led to extraordinary harm, in some cases wiping out victims' retirements or education funds. Authorities moved quickly. On December 12, 2022, Bahamian police arrested Sam Bankman-Fried at the request of US prosecutors, just as he was heading to testify before Congress about FTX's demise. But this arrest was only the beginning. A week later, he agreed to be extradited to New York. In Manhattan, federal court on December 22nd, SBF learned the extent of the US case. A sealed indictment accused him of wire fraud, conspiracy, securities fraud, and other charges, describing his conduct as an epic fraud. Bankman-Fried pleaded not guilty and was granted release on a $250 million bail package. The conditions were extraordinary. He surrendered his passport and remained on strict house arrest at his parents' home in Palo Alto, California. Both of his parents, Stanford law professors Joseph Bankman and Barbara Fried, co-signed the bond and pledged the equity in their house as collateral. Gone were his island penthouse and crypto jets. In New York, he traded flip-flops for formal attire. As he left the courthouse, SBF was clean-shaven and soberly dressed, a far cry from the shorts and t-shirt image he once cultivated. Yet, even as he walked free on bail, he wasn't going to stay free for long. Meanwhile, 3 of Bankman-Fried's closest associates at Alameda, ex-girlfriend Caroline Ellison, co-founder Gary Wang, and another executive, each pleaded guilty to fraud and agreed to testify. Their cooperation was a sign that the walls were closing in. At the October 2023 trial, these star witnesses painted a damning portrait of SBF. Ellison testified that Bankman-Fried repeatedly ordered her to cook the books and conceal Alameda's true finances. Wang described how SBF had instructed him to code a special line of credit for Alameda and even to allow negative account balances, effectively letting Alameda withdraw any amount it wanted. Other FTX engineers said SBF directly approved giving Alameda unlimited withdrawal rights. On the stand, Bankman-Fried gave a defense of blaming mismanagement and oversight failures. He acknowledged making mistakes running FTX and lacking proper risk controls, but he insisted he never intended to steal customer money. He said donations came from Alameda's earnings, not stolen cash, and that any missing funds were an accounting error. "I did not defraud anyone," he testified. He painted himself as an overwhelmed CEO who neglected standard procedures, not a greedy crook. But jurors had already heard too much and didn't buy it. After just 4 hours of deliberation, on November 2nd, 2023, they found Sam Bankman-Fried guilty on all 7 counts, confirming that he had looted roughly $8 billion from FTX customers. In court, prosecutor Damian Williams said plainly that the crypto industry might be new, but this kind of scheme is as old as time. He placed SBF in the same category as notorious swindlers like Bernie Madoff and Jordan Belfort, warning the public that flashy technology doesn't excuse fraud. Bankman-Fried was immediately remanded to jail. On March 28, 2024, Judge Lewis Kaplan imposed a stiff sentence: 25 years in federal prison, plus an order to forfeit over $11 billion. Kaplan explicitly rejected SBF's claims that no customer lost money or that he hadn't lied. The judge pointedly said SBF knew it was wrong to mix funds and had very bad bet on not getting caught, yet he still refused to take responsibility. In a formal statement, US Attorney General Merrick Garland called the crimes unprecedented and stressed that anyone who thinks they can hide behind wealth and power or a shiny new thing should think twice. The sentence, one of the longest for fraud in recent history, is intended to both punish SBF and send a message that crypto does not provide a legal loophole. Under Judge Kaplan's findings, FTX users collectively lost about $8 billion, plus billions more in investor and lender losses. The court authorized using SBF's remaining assets and other recovered funds to repay victims as much as possible. FTX's bankruptcy estate has since recovered several $1 billion, but many victims remain unpaid and are anxiously awaiting distributions. Bankman-Fried's appeal, filed in April 2024, may delay the final chapter, but legal experts say overturning a felony conviction is very difficult. Meanwhile, Bankman-Fried's personal world has collapsed. His lavish wealth has vanished. In March 2024, he told the judge he had only $100,000 left. Friends and colleagues, including co-founders of Alameda and FTX, have testified against him or pleaded guilty. Charity projects he championed have folded, and his social media persona now feels like dark irony. Even his supporters on the political left, impressed by his donations, have expressed disillusionment at being part of an unwitting scheme. Many of his contributions are under scrutiny or subject to refund. The broader crypto industry is also reeling. The FTX implosion was the latest in a string of 2022 collapses that together have locked up tens of billions in crypto. There are roughly $16 billion worth of assets caught in the FTX bankruptcy. Analysts say public trust in exchanges and stable tokens has been shattered, likely paving the way for tighter regulation. As Binance's Zhao warned early on, a scandal like this prompts regulators to scrutinize exchanges even more and makes licenses harder to get. In short, the FTX saga has been a harsh lesson that Silicon Valley bravado can't override basic finance rules. How many other companies have come to a tragic end because they lacked critical foresight? Click subscribe and you'll never miss out on exciting stories just like this.